Okay, 31-2, the relationship between radians and degrees. Essentially what this means is, if I'm given radians, I want to be able to convert to degrees. Or if I'm given degrees, I want to be able to convert to radians. Easiest instance, how many radians are in 50 degrees, right? 50 degrees around the circle, how many radians is that? Or how many degrees is 2.3 radians? Right, so we're going to see that today. Essentially, if you think about it, these green portions were radians, right? I'm going to do it in white so you can see it, but this portion right here, purple's probably better, is 1 radian. Okay, so if this is R, or 1R, I want to know, okay, how many degrees is that? How many degrees is that? That's kind of a main idea. If you can figure that out, you can use that to convert from radians to degrees. Now, we actually have an easier conversion, and that has to do with everything here. So everything that I just highlighted in blue, from here all the way around to here, that conversion helps us even more. All right, remember what we said? We said that pi is halfway around the circle. So pi, in other words, let me write it over here. Pi equaled a semicircle. And we can even put a number to this. So pi is equal to 180 degrees, because obviously the whole circle is being 360. Half a circle or semicircle is 180. So if pi equals 180 degrees, 2 pi equals 360 degrees, or all the way around the circle, like we saw here, right? All the way around the circle gave us 360, or 2 pi, and halfway around the circle gave us 180 degrees, or pi. And remember, this right here is your radians. These are your radians. We don't have to say R. We don't use a unit there. All we do is give it a value. If your value has a pi in it, it is radians. If your value has a pi in it, it is radians. All right, and here's how we convert. We use 180 and we use pi. That's our reference point. That's our frame of reference. All right, so if we go back to our notes from today, we have 2 conversions. We have degrees to radians, and we have radians to degrees. So we have degrees to radians, and we have radians to degrees. In math, we can write relationship as fractions. Remember, these are rational expressions. These are fractions. Here's how we do it. If we want to convert radians to degrees, all right, so you're given something with pi in it, so you're given the radians. If you want to convert that, what you're going to do is multiply whatever you're given by 180, if this is going to write, over pi. Okay, you multiply by 180 over pi. Let me rewrite that. Rewrite it a little bit cleaner. Multiply by 180 divided by pi. All right. This will cancel out the pi's, and we're going to be left with a number. You'll be left with degrees. Now, the other way. If I want to convert degrees to radians, I'd be given degrees. So essentially, I'm given a number like 135, and I want to see how many radians that is. We multiply by pi over 180. Okay, you multiply by pi over 180. You'll see what I mean here. essentially, in this case, you're going to cancel out the degrees. You're going to be left with just the pi, just the radian. And again, you'll see what I mean. Okay, let's look at this first one. Convert pi over 2 to degrees. All right, so this right here, we have pi in here, which means I have a radian. I specifically wrote it in red because I know that if I'm given radians, I'm going to multiply by 180 over pi. So again, I'm looking right above. I'm given radians. I'm going to multiply by 180 over pi. All right, here we go. I start writing what I started with, which is pi over 2. All right, now I'm going to multiply by 180 over pi. All right, when I multiply two fractions together, I multiply across. You multiply across. So 180 times pi would be 180 pi. 2 times pi would be 2 pi. And we want to keep pi. We don't want to use decimals here. We want to keep pi. It's going to make it easier, and you'll see right here, 180 pi divided by 2 pi. Well, the pi's are going to cancel. And then what's 180 divided by 2? 90. So what's my answer? 90 degrees. Okay, so pi over 2 is 90 degrees. If I look up at what I did yesterday, 90 degrees, pi over 2, you see how those are at the same point? Well, that's exactly what we just did here. We converted. We were given the pi over 2. I want to know how many degrees that was. Without looking at my unit circle, I got 90 degrees. This next one, 90 degrees to radians. Obviously, we just converted the other way. We should get the answer pi over 2. All right, because we saw that there's pi over 2 radians in 90 degrees. Here I want to know 90 degrees to radians. This is just a check. Obviously, you could just write pi over 2 and have the right answer, but it's good that we check it to actually show you how we do the work. But we have a spot now. We have something to look for. Okay, 90 degrees. This is degrees, obviously. So I'm given degrees, not digress. Okay, so I'm going to multiply by pi over 180. All right, 90 degrees. The easiest way to do this is to do 90 over 1. Remember, you can put anything over 1, and it's still 90, right? 90 divided by 1 is still 90. But we need that 1 there just to have a fraction. It's easier to multiply a fraction by a fraction. Okay, now I'm going to multiply by pi over 180. What do I get? Well, 90 times pi is 90 pi over 1 times 180, which is 180. 90 pi divided by 180. Well, what's 90 divided by 180? That's 1/2, or pi over 2 if I simplify. Okay, and this is my answer, pi over 2. Again, what I did there is I took 90 divided by 180. The pi I can't cancel, but I know I can reduce this to 1/2. 1/2 times pi is pi over 2. All right, so we have a frame of reference there. We already knew that there was 90 degrees in pi over 2, but again, if I wanted to convert either direction, you now have that. And if you want to check your answer, just go up to our unit circle. 90 degrees, pi over 2, 90 degrees. Okay. All right, I'm going to do one of each of these, and then that's it. Then if you want to complete the other ones, great. But I'm going to do one of each. Pi over 5. Now I want to convert the following 2 degrees, which means convert 2 degrees means I'm given radians. let me rewrite that. Given radians. It wouldn't be giving you degrees and say convert to degrees. That doesn't make sense. It's giving you a radian and it's saying convert to degrees. Pi over 5. Pi over 5. Now, if I want to convert to degrees, I can look up here and say, well, I'm given radians. I multiply by 180 over pi. All right. So I multiply straight across. What do I get? 180 pi divided by 5 pi. Okay. I can cancel out these pi's. Pi over pi is just cancel those out. 180 divided by 5. Let me write that in purple. Well, you can do a little simplifying here. 180 divided by 5 would be 36. So I have 36 degrees. That's it. That's my answer. 36 degrees. At 36 degrees, we should have pi over 5. Now, 36 degrees is not on our unit circle, so we can't check that one. But you could always try to convert it back to get the pi over 5. Now, convert the following to radians. 2 radians means I'm given degrees, and that should be obvious. Given that I have a degree symbol right there. I missed. Degree symbol right there. That should be obvious. But again, either way, you have some sort of reference. All right, 150 degrees, excuse me. I can rewrite this as 150 over 1. I don't know what that unsupported message is. It's a little terrifying, but 150 over 1 times, and I want to convert to radians, which means that I should be doing pi over 180, and I convert 150 pi, multiply across, over 180. Okay, well, obviously the pi is not going to cancel. 15 over 18, I can simplify this. This would be 5 over 6, 5 pi over 6, because if I take the pi is not going to go anywhere, but I take 150 divided by 180. You can simplify this, reduce or divide both by 30. You get 5 over 6. So I get 5 pi over 6. This is how we leave it. We leave it as 5 pi over 6. That's it. That's a radian. This is the amount of radians. Perfectly fine. We'll see this actually on the unit circle when we get to it, but 5 pi over 6 is a perfectly fine answer. If you have radians, you should have pi in your answer. Your pi should be in your answer if you have radians. If you look back up at our unit circle, anything in purple here is radians, and everything in purple has pi in it. So, if you're talking about radians, you should have pi in your answer, so don't be worried about that. And don't convert it to a decimal. Keep pi, right? Keep it as pi. Perfectly fine. All right. Hopefully, you can now do 2, 3 in both the bottom 2 sections. And then that's it. Pretty short day today, but try to convert these degrees to radians and convert the radians to degrees. It'll help you with the unit circle as we get to it in the next 2 days.